and welcome back to another video. So I know I'm always excited for like every video, but I'm really excited for this video because it's gonna be the first video that I film about like the process of applying into medical school and like what I'm doing. So I will be talking about the timeline I have made for myself to be ready to apply into medical school for next summer. I guess before I get started, I'm gonna like rewind a little bit and talk about like me wanting to apply this summer, because initially I wanted to apply this summer. And so a few things that I realized that kind of went wrong was one, I underestimated how much time it would take to prepare an application. I didn't start preparing maybe until the like fall-ish and maybe more towards like the end of the fall semester. And that was kind of a big mistake because I didn't realize there were so many things to do. And one of those things was drafting out schools you wanted to apply to. And I thought this was going to be quick, you know. I thought I was just going to like pick schools from different states, or like look who has a program, look at the schools that have the program I want, and then like apply to there. But it wasn't necessarily the case, and so choosing schools actually takes really long. And it might just be because of like the certain pathway that I want to do. I want to apply into MD PhD programs, and that's so I can get my MD, which is like what physicians have, but I also want to get a PhD, and that's what researchers have. And so I want to do research in the field of public health, and that is not a common MD PhD pathway. So not many schools offer this pathway. So even if a school does have an MD PhD program, it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to accept students with a PhD in public health, or who want to pursue a PhD in public health. But even if they do accept you, they might not have the support system to help you get through that PhD in public health. So I had to do a lot of calling, a lot of emailing, like specifically like the admissions directors, and be like, hey, would you accept me? Keeping in mind that this is a pathway that I want to do. And some schools flat out tell you like they don't have the resources for it. Maybe they don't have a school of public health, which, you know, obviously makes sense. If you're going to do a PhD in public health, you would probably want to go to a school that has a school of public health. And I realized, you know, drafting your personal statement, it's really hard to fit everything that you've done, but also make it story-like and make it like inspirational and show quality. That's why this time around, so I ended up not applying this summer. And so I pushed it back to next summer, and this time around I have created a timeline so I am on track and kind of have like deadlines for myself, so I'm not like rushing through it in the end, and I feel more prepared, you know. So I don't know if you can see this, but that's what it looks like. This is my little schedule, my timeline, and I have it all the way up. So I'm starting to prepare in August, and I will be finishing like preparing and submitting applications in June next year. Okay, so for this August, I'm going to draft a list of experiences with descriptions. And so medical schools give you a section where you put in your 15 experiences, and that includes like clubs you were a part of, organizations, volunteer experiences, clinical experience, basically everything you did in terms of extracurriculars in undergrad or during the gap year. So I already have a list of everything that I did in my CV already, so it's up to date on everything that I have done. Now, what I haven't done is actually written the description for the experiences. So that's what I'm going to be working on in the month of August, like describing what I did in each of those experiences, maybe like how it was meaningful, and kind of just summarizing what I did. I'm going to write a couple sentences on my experiences, just to have that ready for the MCAT application. Then I'm also going to start studying for the MCAT. I'm going to start by studying the sciences first, because I think that would be my weakest point, in the sense that like a lot of the courses I took earlier in college maybe didn't do well or as well as I wanted to. So I'm gonna need a refresher. Starting off with bio. And then also this month, I am drafting out a list of programs that I want to apply to and their prerequisites, and making sure that I've taken all the classes that I need to apply to those schools. And then again, making sure that the programs that I want to apply to are willing to accept students who want a PhD in public health. So that's for the month of August. For the month of September, I'm going to review my experiences that I listed out and the descriptions, making sure they're concise, straight to the point, stuff like that. I will also start studying for chem in September, and I will finalize the list of schools that I would like to apply to. Also, I'm gonna break it up. Basically, each month is gonna be a different subject that I'm studying for, but I'm still gonna do practice tests each month, and answering practice questions and reviewing what I started the last month. So for example, in September, even though I want to review chem, I'm still gonna do some practice questions on bio to make sure I don't forget that either. And I can also probably do another video on how I will study for the MCAT and how that goes. In October, I'm going to, again, finalize those experiences, make sure they're all great. I think you also get to pick the top 3 experiences that were the most meaningful. So I'm also going to go ahead and make sure those paragraphs are written, and again, that they're written well, have them reviewed by people, and so all the reviews and the drafts should be done by October in terms of my experiences. In October, I'll also start studying for physics, the physics portion of the MCAT, and then I would like to have an outline and some kind of draft of my personal statement in terms of how I want it to look, kind of the sequence that everything is going to go in. In November, I'll start studying for the cars section of the MCAT. I'll edit my personal statement and then draft out a list of recommenders that I should ask. 4 letters of recommendation. In December, I will start studying for the psychology portion of the MCAT, and then this is when I will start asking others to review my personal statement. And in December, I will ask my recommenders for that letter of recommendation, again, just so they have plenty of time to write it. The people that I have in mind of asking, they're very busy people, and I feel like most people are, so I want them to have enough time to think of something, write it out, and write it out well. And in January, I am planning on taking the MCAT. I'll also have other people review personal statements. I want to ask a good amount of people, but I also don't want to ask too much, because everyone has their own opinion on how the statement should go. But my plan is maybe to ask my classmates, in a sense, or my old classmates, to review it, and then maybe have a couple of medical students review it, and then have the professionals review it. Just so you kind of get everyone's input. February, I will hopefully have had my score for the MCAT, and then I can see if I need to retake it or if I'm okay with it. And in February, I'm also going to request transcripts from all the institutions that I've been at. So took a few courses at community college, I went to school at UIC, and then I also went to Cole College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, so I need to get all those transcripts. And I'm going to ask for them in February, because it does take 25 days to get transcripts. So I just want to have those ahead of time, because you also need them to submit all your grades onto the AMCAS website. You need to go class by class and then report the grade that you received. And it'll just be easier to do that if I have all the transcripts. And then in February, I will also be finalizing the personal statement, making sure everything is good and set. I'm also giving myself time to fall behind, because if I'm sending my personal statement to other professors and stuff like that, they might be busy and might not have a chance to read it. It might take a while for them to read it. So I want to give them that time, so that's why I'm putting a deadline of February to finalize my personal statement, but it might not be finalized until like March or April, and that's fine. In March, I would like to review my whole application, making sure that I have all the sections filled out, that I'm not missing anything. I will also want to make sure that I received all the transcripts already. I want to review all the essays again, making sure that like nothing has changed, I don't have any like new ideas or whatever. And then I also want to start drafting ideas for secondaries. And so if you're not too familiar with the medical school application process, like there's an initial phase and it's called like, I guess it's like the first phase, primary? Might be primary, I don't know, but it's like the first phase. You like apply to all the schools you want to and whatnot, and then those schools check your GPA and your MCAT score, and if you're above the threshold that they want, then they will send you another application and you have to basically write more essays. And then after that phase, then they would look over your application again and then maybe invite you for an interview, and then after the interview then you would find out if you did get accepted or not. And back to this. In March I want to draft out those ideas for those secondary essays. In April I want to make sure I have my list of schools, that nothing has changed. I also want to do research on the type of interviews that I may get, because now there's so many different type of interviews. I also want to make sure, I'll probably be checking this before too, but I want to make sure I have the money to apply. I am planning on applying into their like financial assistance program, so that might help a little. But you know, I still need to make sure I have money saved up for that. But then again, yeah, that'll probably be done earlier too. Like I'll probably be saving money starting from like now till like next year. And then in May, I am going to add all this information that I have already compiled into the MCAS application, because you could do that in May. And I'm going to make sure I have all my recommendations, I submitted the transcripts, that I entered all the courses that I've ever taken in undergrad, and that I submit the essays and experience. So basically May is just going to be adding my whole application onto MCAS. And in June, that is when you are allowed to submit. So I will be submitting my application for medical school in June, and waiting for those secondaries so then I can send more essays, and then I wait for those interviews. So that is my plan. I could probably type it up too and put it in the description if anybody like really cares or is also planning on applying into medical school. But I'm excited, and I've realized too that once you start preparing your application for medical school, time flies by so fast. Like you kind of hit the ground running, and then you're running until you get your like interview or acceptance. But yeah, so I'm excited. Everything is going to be starting this next month in August, and I will be posting more videos on how like studying is going for the MCAT, how like if I'm actually sticking to this outline or this timeline, and if it's going well. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll keep you updated again on the whole progress. I'm probably going to be doing more vlogs too, so I can like talk about multiple things, like studying for the MCAT and what I'm doing for my personal statement, or how I'm drafting that, and stuff like that. So don't forget to subscribe, like the video, share it with anyone who you think might benefit from it, and yeah, please make sure you're subscribing so we can grow this channel, and then hopefully help more people, create more transparency in the field too. I feel like the end is always glorified, and so like your end result is always glorified, but no one ever talks about the steps that it took for you to get there, and that's the point of this channel. Like I want for you guys to know that like it's a difficult, long process. Hopefully you guys can take away something from my experience, and it'll help you with your experience either in applying into medical school or some other graduate program. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and I will see you guys in the next video.